Everybody, and welcome back to Grade Academy's Home Economics lectures. We're here now looking at Core 1 still, and we've moved on to Chapter 2, and that's looking at diet and health basically. So we will be using a lot of the information that we've looked at in Chapter 1 on our nutrients in this particular chapter. So this chapter has actually been broken down into 3 lectures to make it more accessible for you. So you have energy, which is this one we're doing now. Then you have specific dietary requirements, and then you have dietary deficiencies and excess. So each of those will have their own lecture. However, when we look at the exam paper, you will find that they're actually amalgamated often into the same exam. So first and foremost, very basically, what is energy? And we probably all know that energy is the body's capacity to do work, and we measure it in kilocalories or kilojoules. And just for your own information, 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.1 kilojoules for conversion purposes. Why do we need energy? We need it for growth, especially during pregnancy and in children, because there's rapid growth spurts there. And obviously, as adults, we need it as well. For any physical activity, metabolism of all our body cells, including called our BMR, and we'll look at that again later. And that's the working of all our internal organs, such as our heart, our lungs, our kidneys. That will all encompass our BMR. And also, it's to generate heat and maintain a constant body temperature for us at all times. So that's the role of energy in the body. This could be a section A type question now, so it's important that you're able to identify those and be able to answer that short question in section A. When we look at it, we see that, as I've mentioned already, we've growth in childhood and adolescence, all physical activities in our daily lives, no matter what our age is. We need it for our internal organs. We need it for thermogenesis, which is maintaining our body temperature at approximately 37 degrees Celsius. And we need it for the metabolism, which is all our cell and nerve activity in the body. That's the role or the function of energy in the body. So when we look at the food and how much it contains, so we hear a lot about our food and what it's made up of, and we looked at that in chapter 1, protein, carbohydrates and fat. And this is just a quick recap on each of the calorie content. And I suppose the thing that you will notice there is the difference between the calorie content for a gram of fat to that of protein and carbohydrate, and likewise a gram of alcohol is providing us with 7 kilocalories. They're empty kilocalories. Again, this could be a section A type question. What are empty kilocalories? They are food that provide us with energy, but they have no nutritional value. So therefore, they don't give us any nutrients at all, but they do give us the energy, but that often can convert that into fat for us later on. So your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, this is the least amount of energy your body needs to function. So basically, it's the sum of all your chemical reactions in your body. So when you are sleeping or resting, your energy is still needed in the body for your heart, your lungs, and your kidneys to function, for you to stay alive, basically. And all of us have a different BMR. Right, and it can depend on our age, our size, our gender, and we will look at those now in a minute. But to establish your BMR, the body should be rested in a warm environment and not eaten in the last 12 hours. That's just if you want to establish it, and often that can be done through a GP. The BMR decreases as you get older. So the older you are, the less food actually you need, because the less your BMR slows down. Exercising and doing other active activities can increase it, and BMR increases during periods of growth. So particularly in children and in adolescents, the BMR is much higher than that of an adult. So what's going to determine your BMR? So you've all these factors here. There's 7 in all, and you would need to be familiar with all of them and be able to discuss each one. So you've climate, age, size, standard of health, gender, activity, and pregnancy. So let's have a quick look at each one. Age, first of all. Children and teenagers, as we said, require more. A person gets older, they need less. Our second one there is size. The larger the person's size, the more energy it will require to function. Obviously, the kidneys, the heart, all muscles, everything will need more energy. Gender. Men have a higher energy requirement than women, because women's body composition contains more fat, and fat has a lower BMR. So basically, that's why often you will see that men will have a higher calorie intake than actually women. Your activity or your occupation. A person's occupation and level of activity will determine the amount of energy they will require. So sedentary, that's if you're not really doing much all day, you're sitting down at an office, you're driving for a long time. So there's low activity. So therefore you have less energy is needed for you to function. But if you're very active, if it's a builder, miner, professional athlete, they will burn a high amount of the energy basically. So they will need a lot of food throughout the day because the level of activity is very, very high. So while we do have basic calorie content, the recommended ones per day, it doesn't necessarily always pan out because depending on what your occupation and your level of activity actually is. Your health status then, energy requirements reduce during times of illness due to lack of physical activity, and our climate, more energy is used in colder climates basically. So when we look then at our balanced eating, and you may be familiar with the plate in front of you where we have all our food groups, and we'll be looking at those later on in the course: fruit and vegetables, bread, our meat, and our food containing fat, and also our sugar. And obviously limiting all of those is really, really important. So how do we balance it? What do we do with regard to intake and output? And I suppose basically you want to make sure that they're more or less equal. And if somebody's trying to lose weight, you obviously want to be expediating more than you're actually taking in. In order to maintain your current body weight, the amount of food you take in must equal what you use in activity and body function. However, if our intake of kilocalories is greater than our output, we gain weight. And to lose weight, energy output should be greater than energy intake, and this can be achieved by extra physical activity. So, on average, if you were trying to lose weight, you would be looking at reducing your daily calorie intake from between 500 to 1,000 kilocalories, and that would probably earn about a £2 loss per week, which is really good because that means that you will generally maintain it as opposed to a really quick loss. These are just some examples of high calorie and low calorie food, and you're probably familiar and already know all of this. So when we're looking at our kilocalorie content, we also have to look at the size of the food. So you're comparing like with like as well. So these are all 100 grams, and you can see the difference there between, let's say, our cheeseburger and let's say our apple or our banana. These then are just giving you a base outline of the amount of kilocalorie requirements every day. So you will see there the children. And male and female are slightly different with regard to how much they need. Obviously, if you look at the lactating or the pregnant woman there, their energy intake can be slightly higher, primarily because obviously they're either breastfeeding or they have the developing fetus. You will see the differentiation there between the sedentary adult and the active adult. And you might notice too that God, in the female, there's very little different. Some countries will have 2,000 calories per day for a female, and some countries will have the male one slightly lower as well. But on average, that's what you're looking for. So what does our current healthy eating guidelines tell us? So we hear a lot about it in the media. So you're probably familiar with a lot of this. So I'm going to very quickly go through this one. Having a variety of food, knowing the food pyramid. You may remember this from your junior cert. Increase your intake of fruit and vegetables. Replace saturated fats with polyunsaturated alternatives. Increase your fiber intake. That prevents constipation. It keeps your bowel healthy. Reduce the amount of sugar in your diet. And that can be through, you can often get that through sweets and fizzy drinks and things like that. So reducing that's really important. Reduce your salt intake. A lot of salt is already added to foods that we eat. So therefore we don't really need to add it to our own foods. Water is vital. Drinking at least 8 glasses of water a day. If you can do 2 liters of water a day, it's fantastic because it means your digestion system is going to be working, your skin will be a lot clearer, and it will basically help to flush out any, toxins that might be there in your body. Alcohol, when you're older, if consumed, should be kept within the recommended guidelines. And eat the correct quantity of food for your body. We don't all need to eat the same amount of food because we all have very different body types. So this is just the food pyramid. As I said, you may be familiar with this. This is from Healthy Ireland, and we'll come back to this again later on. But you can see there the different servings, and the top one there is not every day. So food and drinks high in fat, sugar, and salt, we shouldn't be eating them every day. Maybe once a week. And for children, it's really important for them to remember that it's not a daily occurrence. And then our vegetables and fruit, they're the ones that we can eat much of. And our whole meal bread, cereals, etc. We have our calcium then with our milk, our yogurt, and our cheese, and then our protein with our meat, our poultry, fish, and eggs. And we will come back to all of this again. So, in relation to this chapter, like the last chapter, we will look at the exam questions together. All right. So, make sure you fill out your worksheet. And until I see you the next time, thank you for looking at the Grade Academy Home Economics lecture. Happy learning.